Hello and welcome to our first roundup of 2015 on ThePapare.com of this Dialog Rugby A Division League. And it's come to the end of the first round, so we have a clear idea of who are the top players, who are the middle table people, and who are the people at the bottom of the table as well. So that has sorted itself out. The cream has risen to the top, so to speak, and there's an almighty tussle for the top position between the top three teams. And then you've got a lot going on in the middle of the table as well as the bottom of the table. A lot of teams struggling to stay on top as well. So we'll see a few improvements from some of those bottom teams as we go into the new year, which is one of the matches we'll talk about as well. But let's start at the beginning. We had a game between Havelocks and the Hambantota Sharks, and that one was billed as a Sharks home game, but actually played at the Havelock Park itself, so that was convenient for the Havies, and they piled on the points. They got their bonus. They did what they had to do with a 43 points to 10 victory over the Hambantota Sharks, and it shows that the Havelocks have what it takes to score tries. They have what it takes to stop people scoring tries as well. It's just their ability to handle pressure that will decide their fortunes in this centenary year for the club. So let's wait and see how that club does. They've got a very young halfback combination, and that's where I think the control needs to be exerted on the Havelock's game plan and the way they approach the game and how they approach different phases in the game as well, which we noticed against Navy. They didn't handle extremely well. They started off brilliantly, but after that couldn't pull it back and handle what the opposition threw at them in the way they should have. And that's the 9-10 axis that needs to improve in that area. And they're very young players, both Kavindu Di Costa and Dulaj Pereira, coming out of schools rugby straight into their first full seasons of club rugby, starting in those 9 and 10 jerseys. So it's going to be very important for them to get the experience that they need to make sure Havelocks keeps going forward in the season. But a 43 points to 10 victory with the bonus point should hold them in good stead going into the rest of this year. Then we had the big match, well, not the big match, but we were expecting a big score, Kandy versus CHNFC, and that was largely because CHNFC took the field sans any foreign players, and that was something that really set them back. And of course it sets back the mindset of the local players as well. When you know you're going into a game without your foreign players, you know you can't really compete, especially when you're playing a champion team like Kandy. So despite the fact that they played at their home grounds of CHNFC, they haven't really been doing much practice there because there's a lot of cricket being played there, etc. So CH plagued with immense problems, and that showed on the scoreboard as well. 71 points to 5 is how it finished, and that was pretty much a second string Kandy line that ran up all those points. They hadn't got a few people in the line. They did have Koto Pongi though, who started in the number 12 jersey, so it remains to be seen whether Gayan Veeraratna will come into the side or whether Koto Pongi will take that place in the upcoming games that are left in this season. So the Tongan international who plays his rugby in Japan looks devastating with ball in hand, and whether he can bring other people into the play is what we're going to have to wait and see. And an interesting start also for Arshad Jamaldeen, who had an excellent game, and he was distributing well, some great long passes for a few tries that were scored, plus his kicking out of hand, and indeed his place kicking was very, very good. So coach Johan Taylor will be hard pressed to drop the man for the next game, although his replacement obviously is Fazil Marija. So there might be a case to be made for Arshad starting and Fazil coming in off the bench, the experience coming in and running at tired legs. There's a case to be made for that as well, and I don't think that it will happen because Fazil Marija is a talisman for the Kandy team, but that is an option going forward, especially if they want to keep the experience like Sir Alex Ferguson did with people like Ryan Giggs. Keep them in the squad, keep them in the side, keep them contributing, but have the young players come up as well. So an easy win for Kandy with 71 points to 5 without the likes of Nigel Rathwat, Anuruddha Villavara and Gayan Veeraratna also starting. So that's impressive performance from the back line. A less impressive performance from the forwards. Their front five seems to have improved, and their scrummaging also improved tremendously when Dimitri Wijayatunga and Damit Dissanayake came onto the park against a CH scrum that really had to play almost 80 minutes. The only problem I see with the Kandy third row at the moment is the fact that they're missing Chris Clutie, and they're also missing a regular number 8. They haven't been able to find a number 8 to fill those shoes that Sean Vijay Singh took to the second row with him. So that's something that they have a real problem with. They don't have an experienced number 8, and going forward that could be a little bit of a problem if they can't score off 5-meter scrums and they can't set up ball and run those interesting lines that number 8s have the license to run. So that's something Johan Taylor is going to have to look at, and Kandy Sports Club are going to have to look at going forward as well, developing or at least getting a good number 8 out of the school system. Then we had an exciting match right on this very ground between Air Force and the CRNFC. CRNFC flattered very early on in the season. We all thought Army and CRNFC would be among the title contenders, but unfortunately they've fallen away a little bit, and you can see why. Because Air Force was a team that should have been beaten easily, but unfortunately for the CR fans, it didn't turn out that way, and it was a 31 points to 28 victory. Air Force have been really improving throughout the course of this season, and when they got the foreign players in, that was all the confidence that they needed. So the local players have also stepped up, and you can see how important the foreign player inclusion has been for them, because they ran CR really close. They took the lead early on in the game as well, and CR had to try some desperate tactics to get back into the lead, and a few more points in the a few more minutes in the game, and dare say Air Force would have run away with that one. So 31 points to 28 is how it finished. A thrilling match, and that was actually the unforeseen thriller of the weekend. The foreseen thriller of the weekend was the one between Army and Police, which kicked off at Police Park, and everyone expected Apisai Nangaliva to take the Army defense, to tear the Army defense into shreds. But the good thing for Army is that they had responded, and they had responded by actually bringing in two hard-working Fijian players. They brought in Nemani Nangusa into the number 8 position, and Jone Avokiavota into the center position, and those two guys did a lot of work. So they'd gone away from guys like Samuelati Ramuai, and they'd gone away from Rupeni Tautanimbuka. They went away from Pio Tuai. He didn't start the game either. So they brought in the hard workers, and that really changed the Army game. They were playing really well. Their backline looked slick, largely due to the inclusion of Mohammad Absal, who gives Rohit Rajapaksa some excellent service from the base. So the backline was really moving well. Kamindu Pereira made some excellent inroads as well, and Chula Susanta was outstanding at the back too. And Gayan Salinda adds a little bit more of an attacking dimension at the back of that line for Army. So probably the best game that Army have played so far. They managed to win that one by 41 points to 20. But what will disappoint the Police crowd was the average performance from the two Police Fijians, Filimoni Seru, and largely from Apisai Nangaliva, who didn't have a good day at all. His kicking out of hand was poor. He did make a few runs, but wasn't able to find people to offload to. So that was unfortunate from a Police point of view, because a lot of people expected a closer game in the Army versus Police encounter, but still bonus try win for the Army as well. So they'll move up the table a little bit more. So let's have a look at the table at the end of the first round. Everybody's played their 8 games, and two teams have 7 wins, and that's Kandy and Navy, who are at the top, and second place is at the halfway stage. So Kandy have 40 points, Navy have 39 points. Coming up third, Havelocks with 33 points, and surprisingly CRNFC is still in it with 31 points, because the quality of rugby that they're playing doesn't probably deserve the 4th place at the moment, but Army and Police have let it slip definitely. So they're at mid-table by 5 with 5 and 6, and they've got 29 and 25 points. The Hambantota Sharks with a big win over CHNFC see them rise to number 7, CHNFC at 8, and Air Force will almost certainly leapfrog them if they keep playing the way they did on Sunday, and they are in last place at the moment, but probably not for long. So that's the story as we start the new year 2015. We've got a hell of a second round of action coming up in the Dialog Rugby A Division League. Make sure you keep it tuned to ThePapare.com for all our match reports and indeed the live streaming, and we'll bring you all that action as it unfolds. Have a great 2015.